Well, on November 10th of 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald disappeared from radar during a terrible storm on Lake Superior. We're coming up on the anniversary of the shipwreck, and joining us now is a man who was stationed aboard the ship who was sent out to search for the Fitzgerald. We've got Tony, and and what we're looking at here is your story, your lovely story about just a terrible night and brave men going out into a very dangerous and dark situation, not really knowing what to look for. So Tony Hall, thank you for joining us, and we're very interested in hearing your story. So please tell us a little bit about that night. What happened? What was it like getting that call to go out?
Well, we were kind of scattered about. We was on Bravo 6, which meant that we had 6 hours. The ship had 6 hours to get underway for an emergency. And during that time, there was 2/3 of our crew. They were on Liberty. We were scattered pretty much all over Duluth. And then everybody, they come over the TV stations, the radio, and wherever we was at to return to the ship. And then we finally got underway. We got underway within 2.5 hours, just after midnight. And as soon as we left the break wall in Duluth, it was getting pretty rough. And the farther out we got,
Yes, further out, you guys, just a very kind of uncertain situation you guys were heading into.
We didn't know we was coming back. You know, the Coast Guard's Blue Book manual says you have to go out, but you don't have to come back.
Right, absolutely.
And we didn't think we was coming back. Later, within a couple hours, the only people that were up and about were on the helm. I had 2 friends on the helm, Robert Ravina, Craig Collins, and the captain, of course, never left the bridge. And then we had to have crew in the engine room. Other than that, if you didn't have the duty, you were in your rack, because that was the only safe place to be.
So, you know, what do you think is important to remember about what happened that night?
The lives that were lost. We didn't save anybody. And even though we give it our best, we had no idea that she was already on the bottom by the time we'd get there. And it's just, the Shipwreck Museum at Whitefish Point every year has a ceremony for the families of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And to me, it's important that this memory keeps on going, and people always visit Whitefish Point, the Shipwreck Museum.
Absolutely. For people who aren't aware of that night or would like to learn more about the Fitzgerald and what happened that night and maybe the aftermath, where can they go learn more?
Whitefish Point.
Yeah, in the museum.
In the museum.
Yes, the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, I believe.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yep.
So it's certainly a big part of our Michigan history. You know, there's a lot to be learned from that, and you know, it passed down to the way that shipping is done on the lakes today. I'm sure there's lots of things that the Coast Guard learned that's passed down to the Coast Guard of today.
Yes.
So, absolutely. Well, we thank you very much for joining us, and we appreciate you taking the time to tell us the story. It's a very, of course, sad story, but very important to the industry of shipping on the Great Lakes.
People need to remember.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. And if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see on our show, you can send them to us at WNEM-4PM News at WNEM.com. Just use the subject 4 PM News Spotlight.